Hey guys, this is Byron5000 and I'm back with another video. Today I'm looking at scary videos. I got this idea, like do a 3 a.m. challenge, but I am not playing any game at 3 a.m. Like no horror game. Okay, like no horror game, period. No, I know it's not exactly 3 a.m., but that's what I could do. So yeah, we're going to get to this, and hopefully my pants at the end of this video, my pants won't be on the other side of this goddamn room. What is this?
Hello everyone, how is everyone doing? It's Mesh Yourself here. Today is officially Halloween. Now I want to do a super spooky...
Top 10.
Hey, what the fuck? Holy shit. Oh my god.
Paranormal. Unusual activity. Wait, why is the door opening? Nobody's touching it. Where the... You guys saw that? You guys didn't see that?
Where did you go? I found you. Oh god.
Sarah, get away.
It will fucking explode. Oh my god, Eric.
God.
Maybe.
I told you.
Kitchen spirits. Now, you know that ain't normal.
Right, we're at the playground, and the kids don't want to go anymore because look at this shit. This is real. Look at this. There's no wind out here right now.
No one on it either.
Look, there's nobody on it.
It's just moving.
There's no wind. Look at the other swings, and look at this shit.
I mean, maybe someone pushed it and it just went away, but...
Yeah, it's filming. Go.
Okay.
No, you cocked your wrist too much. Do it again. Slower.
How was that?
What the?
What the hell was that?
Hello?
Hello?
Who is it? Who is it?
There's no one there. Oh
my god.
Come here.
Just get out of the house. Get out of the house.
Ghost account.
If we turn the camera off, will you print the diamond symbol?
Wait, is it going to type by itself?
Camera's off.
Print the diamond symbol.
Oh my god.
I didn't see what happened.
That is so fucking sketchy.
Oh my god!
This thing is printing by itself.
What is it printing? Oh,
We're out
that
here
happened
running
to me
and-
before.
I swear to
It's like a malfunction
fucking God,
when you
man.
type this thing.
We just saw a clown. Up
Is it
over
gonna
the
something
suspension
pop up
bridge.
out of the bushes or something?
And I'm sort of
I wouldn't be
freaking out
surprised
about
if
it.
was a clown.
What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?
Well, nobody popped up out of the video, but it's a clown.
Yo, what the fuck are you doing, man? It's 7:30 in the morning. Have you heard about all this shit? People are freaking out about this. Yo, does he have a fucking knife?
He ain't answering. He have a mask
Yo,
on.
Patrick, he has a knife. Dude, what the...
I wouldn't even enter that bridge without a goddamn gun.
What the fuck?
See, if
What the
I
fuck?
called to somebody and they were in like a clown suit, and sightings. I want to see that one. Skip.
Chills. Number 10, Ghost Jail. A YouTuber named Junked Up Kitten and his friends are exploring an old county jail. They take a video camera with them so that they can make a parody of the Ghost Hunters television series. Little did the small group know that on this night they would accidentally capture actual evidence of real ghosts. Junked Up Kitten wanders around the property with the camera close to his face while narrating. He passes by an ordinary looking jail cell window and doesn't think much of it at the time. When he goes back to review the footage later, he makes a startling discovery in the window. It looks like his parody show has turned out to be the real thing. From the other side of the glass, the colorless reflection of a man's face stares at him. You can clearly see the outline of the ghost's brow, nose, and empty eyes. His head is cocked to the right, almost as if he is sizing up a newcomer. His mouth appears to be a thin, expressionless line. If anything, the ghost has incredible timing. Right when Junked Up Kitten says that he is looking for evidence of ghosts, one just happens to show up in the window. It's almost as if the ghost was trying to make its presence known. Perhaps it was even trying to get a hold of someone who could free it from its miserable cell. Number 9, Restaurant Spooks. Most people think of houses, hospitals, or jails when they think about ghost sightings, but some of the most unsuspecting of places can turn out to be the most haunted. This footage was taken in a popular food joint during broad daylight. A shadowy ghost suddenly materializes in a Subway restaurant. It starts out in the shape of a human and almost appears to be getting a table. When it gets back to its seat, the black shadow suddenly changes into a floating black blob of an orb. At this point, an employee or maybe a customer appears to see the ghost in the doorway. Whoever they are, they look stunned for a second and then quickly back away. The shadow orb pays no attention to the human as it floats up to the window and lingers there. It's almost as if it's taking a look at the outside world. The ghost starts to rise even higher and shrinks until it fully disappears back to wherever it came from. Number 8, the Ghost Stadium. Ghosts don't have to wait until nighttime before they can begin to haunt. As this Brazilian soccer footage shows, the crowd is happily cheering on their favorite team when suddenly a shadow ghost starts sprinting through all of them. Look closely and you'll notice how nobody tries to move out of the way. Even though a person is clearly running full speed at them, not a single person tries to pull their legs in or even bothers to look up. They are so concentrated on the game that they do not see, feel, or hear the ghost as it runs directly through the half-filled stadium in a straight line. Number 7, Fridge Ghost. A YouTuber named No Ghost Hunter grows tired of living in a haunted home and decides to videotape the disturbances for evidence. It's a little past midnight when he hears scratching noises, which soon progresses into running footsteps and loud bangs. These noises appear to be coming from all different areas of the home at once. The next day, his HD TV literally begins rocking violently from side to side all by itself. The rocking motion picks up speed until the corners of the TV are almost hitting the entertainment center, and it looks like the base is going to break. Then the TV starts rocking back and forth the other way. There is nobody behind the television, and there's no way they could have been using strings to do this. The day after, No Ghost Hunter finds a short video on his phone that he is 100% sure he did not make. The video is shot from the ground level of his kitchen. When you look at the reflection in the oven, you can see that nobody is holding the phone. The phone is literally floating in midair. Additional footage shows the TV shaking by itself again. This time, No Ghost Hunter is able to film behind the television to show that this is not a prank at all. He waves his hand above the television to show that there's no wires, and he even films underneath the base to show that there is no rod coming out from the entertainment center or anything like that. The lights cut out multiple times while he films. A few days later, he captures his refrigerator door slamming open and closed again and again. The brazen poltergeist leaves the door open to make sure its presence is fully known. Number 6, Watched from Above. A group of British friends are playing catch in a courtyard when one of them sees something strange and points it out to the others. The camera follows his gaze and stops on a pale face looking at them from high above. The sickly person looks at them for a second longer before silently slipping out of view. The group is now creeped out and wants to know who has been spying on them this whole time. They tell the property manager about the face they saw in the window, but she says that it's impossible. The room they are talking about has been locked and unoccupied for quite some time. The manager goes up with them to unlock the door and show them around. They try and find the person, but the place is completely empty. There's no way anyone could have been up there, yet the camera obviously says differently. The mysterious peeper has never been identified. Number 5, Old Pete's Ghost. There's a famous pub in Sydney, Australia called the Carlisle Castle Hotel. For years, this local watering hole has been haunted by the ghost of Old Pete. a bitter ex-employee who left the earth quite some time ago, but not his job. His ghostly antics have been caught on camera no less than 3 times. The first time Pete was caught on
I'm afraid when I'm watching videos of ghosts,
tape, he was helping a customer. The unsuspecting man opens the door to the cooler when Pete decides to grab 2 bottles of red wine for himself. His ghost grip must have not been too tight though, because both bottles go crashing to the floor. Looking at the footage, there's no way that the shelf gave out or anything like that. The bottles were thrown to the ground with deliberate force with no one nearby. Another incident occurred when the bar was full of witnesses. Everyone is happily enjoying themselves when a hanging red wine glass suddenly dislodges itself and smashes into the counter. Glass shards fly everywhere and the entire bar takes notice. Although this could have simply been a freak accident, what are the chances that, of all the red wine glasses, the one that's directly underneath the server happens to be the one to fall and break? The timing is almost too perfect to be a coincidence. Old Pete strikes again. The third and final tape reveals a glimpse of old Pete himself. The bar is empty this time when the angry ghost suddenly materializes in front of the security camera. If you look closely, you can make out old Pete's head at the bottom of the screen. He appears to be waving. Many other bartenders and customers all claim to have seen old Pete for themselves in one way or another. It isn't uncommon for tapes to turn on by themselves, and the bartenders have seen what they can only describe as strange things while counting down their registers after close. To make this all even stranger, all of the bottles that go crashing to the floor are always high-end red wines. This just so happened to be old Pete's favorite drink, at least when he was still with the living. Number 4, the church disturbance. Steve and Jake are wandering around the woods one summer night with a single goal in mind. They want to explore an abandoned local chapel that's rumored to be haunted. As they approach, they see that someone has written prayers and warnings all over the outside wall. The 2 friends instantly get a bad feeling about this adventure, but they swallow their fear and decide to press on. The rickety main door is locked, so they sneak around back. Already, they don't want to be here much longer. They had explored an old clock tower earlier in the day and were greatly disappointed by a lack of paranormal activity, but they could tell this church is way different. The place looked and felt quite haunted. They go up some wooden steps and enter through the back door. They shine their flashlights deep into the church's main assembly. There's rows and rows of wooden pews ahead of them. They pass by a podium and notice a piano. Then they head deeper inside. Now they find themselves inside of a small maintenance closet. They close the door behind them because they don't want anyone sneaking up on them. It feels like anyone could be watching them right now. They see a ladder to the left. Steve is about to climb it until Jake jokes that a body is going to fall down on him if he does, so he decides not to. That's when the piano starts to play from outside.
Oh no. Oh my god, turn off the light. Listen. Listen to the piano. Is that piano? Should we go out there? Is that door open?
It's a soft and haunting piano melody that fills the church. Steve and Jake shut off their flashlights and keep recording. They debate whether or not they should go outside or stay here, where it's semi-safe. They realize that they can't spend the entire night trapped in the broom closet of a haunted church, so they turn their flashlights back on to see who is playing. Sitting at the piano at the far end of the room is a black hunched-over phantom. They scream and shut the door. Jake cries for a bit, then they run away through the back exit. The music stops as soon as they leave the church. They were hoping that the music stopped because it was over, but in reality, it was because the ghost had gotten up from the piano to chase them. They run a good distance before pausing to look back into the dark scenery. It seems like they've gotten away, but then the ghost finds them and they run away screaming. The camera cuts off as they fall back deeper into the woods. At least one of them survived and uploaded this video onto YouTube, where it's remained for the past 10 years. Number 3, the teleporter.
At least one of them.
2 girls are alone in their house when one of them sees something in the doorway. Pause the video and you can see it's clearly the upper half of a young girl who is dressed in old-fashioned clothes from another time period. She is floating in midair as she curiously peeks in on the 2 children to see what they are doing. One of the girls still doesn't see the ghost. She shouts at something that's on television and accidentally startles the ghost away. The girl with the camera follows the ghost as it retreats. The ghost instantly teleports and now stares at them from the top of the steps. The scared girls run out of the house screaming. They stop only for a second to turn around from the street. They can see the ghost girl walking across the left window on the top floor. It vanishes and then suddenly appears on the bottom floor in less than a second. They scream even louder and take off again. Number 2, stay out of the attic. Back in 2008, a man started to notice some strange activities around his house. He would often come home from work to find his dogs cowering under the bed, too afraid to come out. One of his dogs would only come out from under the bed for a brief 10 seconds at most before going straight back into hiding. Something was intimidating these large dogs badly. The owner starts to hear banging noises coming from all over his house.
You know, I don't. This is stupid. I tell you, stupid. Oh, good. I was moving.
House. He begins to look around. He eventually traces the noise to his attic and goes upstairs with a camera for a closer look. Everything is completely trashed. Boxes are overturned and clothing is scattered everywhere. Something has violently flung all of his personal possessions all around. As soon as he goes back downstairs, he hears another huge bang and runs right back up the steps. He puts the camera down and searches the empty attic for clues. A nearby metal bucket falls over and he runs out of the room before he gets hurt. Another object hits the ground on its own and the camera moves to the right on its own too. The homeowner was too scared to look at the footage. He waited a week before going back upstairs to get his camera. By now, he is understandably quite paranoid. He begins recording everything he does in his home. And it isn't long before he has more paranormal evidence. One day, his radio turns to static and a spirit orb rushes out the window. Later, someone violently jiggles the doorknob to the door that leads to the attic. The door opens and shuts by itself. The radio goes back to normal soon after. Things look to be going back to normal for a second, but then a paper towel roll suddenly flies up from the table to the couch, and the radio starts making more sounds again. The video recording starts to get fuzzy too, as if a ghost is causing electrical disturbances by passing by. Both of his dogs begin to look in the same spot as if they are following something. Whatever it was, the man was never able to physically catch it on film. He was only able to record its strange and oftentimes violent behaviors. Before we get to number 1, if you've ever been curious as to what I look like in real life, then follow me on Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT with underscores instead of spaces. I also have a Twitter at YT_chills where I post video updates. I'd really appreciate it if you followed me, and feel free to send me a DM if you have any questions or suggestions. If you'd like to see more of these videos in the future, then hit that subscribe button because I upload a new scary video every Thursday. Number 1, Ghoul School. This footage comes from somewhere in the Middle East. A group of teenagers are curiously exploring an old school. They go up a flight of steps and pause when they hear a dog whining on the other side of the door. They all run down the steps and gather at the bottom. They're afraid of being attacked by a group of stray dogs now, but they decide to press on and explore the lower areas. The group finds bravery in their numbers and begins to joke and laugh again as they make their way down a long hallway. They open a door and find graffiti on the wall. Other people had been here before them. Maybe this place isn't so bad after all. The teens grow a little more nervous as they continue to poke around. They are laughing less and starting to go silent. Something just isn't right about this section of the building. A YouTuber named Zabin Jaguar translated their comments. He says at this point one of the teens say that their phone shut itself off even though it was fully charged only a moment ago. Another person was able to keep recording, though they probably now wish they hadn't. They enter one classroom in particular and get a dreadful feeling. Suddenly, a figure actually appears out of thin air and walks towards them. The ghost is missing his head, but there's somehow no blood. A loud chanting begins as soon as the ghost walks towards them, but this may be prayers from a nearby mosque. Amazingly, the group all appears to have missed the ghost, which explains why they calmly continue to keep exploring. They wouldn't see the apparition until much later, but when they did, they would never forget what was heading straight towards them in that room. Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because I upload a new scary video every Thursday. Or if you're still not convinced, here are some of our other videos that I think you'd like. Enjoy!
I am not watching no Chinese scary thing. I prefer this. This is the last one. Like, not all of these have been scary. Some of them are able to breathe. Jesus.
Many personal reports of paranormal encounters start off as relatively mild at first, gradually becoming more intense until reaching the point of actual danger. In other words, flickering lights, running faucets, and missing items were often precursors to hauntings that, in these cases, became far more sinister. Number 15. The Night Stalker. This woman claims that she would go to bed at night only to be woken up by strange noises and left with the unshakable feeling that she was not alone. When she sets up a camera to record some evidence, she finds this bizarre footage the next day. Imagine watching yourself trying to sleep while this figure haunts your dreams.
Are there two people in the bed? What was that?
At one point, the supposed phantom appears to be lunging at her. She says that she believes she was still awake during this point and remembers seeing nothing. Only when the contrast on the video was enhanced did anything become visible. Number 14, the ghost pusher. This footage comes from India, where a woman is seen cleaning up at a sink. Suddenly, a dark figure appears behind her and gives her a hard shove from behind. She turns around only to find the room empty and hurries away. Number 13, the mirror. A security camera records a woman as she sits in a dance studio with her back to the mirror. Suddenly, her reflection turns around and stands at her menacingly. The woman continues on her daily routine and simply walks away, completely unaware of the danger behind her. If this video is real, then I can only imagine what would have happened if she had walked towards it instead. Number 12, the light-sensitive ghost. This video comes from another country, but you don't have to know the language to understand what's going on. A group of kids appear to have broken into some type of amusement park late at night, and they are now exploring the area. They are commenting on the various pieces of equipment when they come across a large replica of a woman that makes them fall silent. She is very pale with an expression of surprise and displeasure, almost as if she can see them and knows what they are up to. They move their flashlight over its eyes, and the tall figure blinks once at them. The scared group goes off running and later submits their amateur footage to the local news. It's then loaded onto YouTube soon after. Number 11, ghost grabbed. A man is walking down a hallway with both hands in his pockets when something suddenly materializes in front of him. The shadowy mass shoves him to the ground and drags him across the floor by his ankles with all of its strength. It suddenly disappears as he scrambles to his feet and runs away at full speed. The YouTube community seems split as to whether or not the surveillance video left behind is fake or real. Number 10. Barry can't breathe. According to a team of ghost hunters, this house in San Pedro, California has long been haunted by poltergeists who like to open cupboards, throw plates, change television channels, and linger in certain rooms until a mother and her 2 children felt uncomfortable enough to leave. A lot of events happened before the ghost hunters became involved and therefore were never recorded, but it wasn't uncommon for red liquid to drip from the walls of this haunted home for no explainable reason. Here is a quick clip of this happening in real time before the team's very eyes.
Everyone just left except us. Things are starting to drip out of the cabinets. Nobody believes us, but it's happening. There it is. There it is, right there. It's dripping.
Eventually, the ghosts drive the mother and her children out of the home, and the ghost hunters volunteer to stay there and investigate for several months. One day, they hear 3 loud snapping noises coming from the attic and send a man named Barry to investigate. As he later recalls, something was up there waiting for them.
Are you okay, buddy? God, look at his neck. What's behind your neck?
Short on golden rubies. Equipment, heroes, so much to do with so little money. But don't worry anymore. The newly upgraded missions will see.
I don't know. What's on my neck?
Barry comes back down distraught and confused, now missing his glasses. Some kind of cord is wrapped around his neck, and he insists that something had tried to choke him upstairs in the attic. The investigation was called off not long after, out of a concern for the team's personal safety. Number 9, the dining room. A man claims that he keeps experiencing paranormal activity in his dining room and nowhere else. He feels unsafe and decides to leave a camera running in the dining room to see what goes on when he's not around. Nothing happens for a while, but then something comes along in the window that looks questionable. This is the zoomed in version.
don't see. Oh, it's right there.
A tiny face appears to peek out at them from the glass panel on the bottom right before darting out of sight. You can't really make out any of its features, but notice how some orbs float by shortly before this happens. It's hard to tell if it's a paranormal creature or just a small animal, but I wouldn't want to be left alone in the house to find out. Number 8. The Apartment Haunting. A YouTuber named Joseph Chansuom is absolutely positive that a ghost has been playing tricks on him, so he sets up a camera to record his apartment at night, since that's when the majority of his otherworldly interactions have occurred. It's past 1 in the morning when orbs begin to dash wildly overhead like fireflies. Then something turns on the bathroom lights and puts the faucet on full blast. Soon the door shuts by itself, and maybe it's just me, but I think I hear a really weird noise after it closes, kind of like a sigh. Listen to this and let me know if you hear it too.
I heard it.
So anyway, Joseph wakes up after a while and he hears the sink running. He immediately checks all around his bathroom, only to find it's completely empty. It's important to note that I didn't see any editing cuts between when the sink turned on and when he checked the room. If this is fake, it's very convincing. Here's another video of the sink on a different night, this time taken in front of a mirror to show that no one was around. Joseph eventually moved away before the paranormal tampering could escalate into something more dangerous. Number 7.
Wow.
Alcatraz. A man is walking around the infamous Alcatraz when he picks up 2 possible paranormal encounters. I'll start with the weirdest one first. He is inspecting a roll of holding cells when a loud voice seems to call out to him with a single question. It sounds to me as if the deep voice is asking one simple word: why? The second possible encounter occurs as he is entering another part of the prison. Listen to this strange and haunting laugh. This one has a fairly reasonable explanation. Alcatraz is on an island, so maybe this was a bird call echoing off the prison's walls. I can't tell for sure, so let me know what you think about these 2 events. Number 6, the Sleepwatcher. After multiple nights of getting no sleep and experiencing a deep sense of dread, this person sets up multiple cameras to record exactly what happens to them at night. When they check out the cameras the next day, they find this strange encounter.
Skip. I'm laying down.
A faint shadow appears to linger above them for a moment before fading away. It has an unnatural shape and almost seems to reach out at them. This video could be fake because this person was sleeping with their lights on, which is strange. But then again, maybe they were just trying to make sure there was plenty of light to catch the ghost on video. Some people have even suggested that this person was having an out-of-body experience during REM sleep. Number 5, the Museum Curse. Museum maintenance workers in Manchester, England, were very surprised when this ancient Egyptian statue began moving by itself. It would always shift in its display case when they aren't looking, and when they put it back in its spot, it would just move again on its own later. After determining that this was not some kind of prank, the museum workers became extremely curious and set up a camera. They were stunned to find the 4,000-year-old statue gradually moving in a perfect circle completely by itself on camera. Scientists studied this video extensively and eventually concluded that vibrations from foot traffic and nearby buses were causing the small figurine to shift in place. However, museum workers note that this figure has been part of their collection for 80 years and it has never moved before, so this reason is not exactly foolproof. Also, none of the other museum artifacts have ever displayed this kind of behavior, which has led many YouTubers to believe that this explanation is merely a cover-up for the paranormal truth and possibly a dangerous curse. Number 4, Billy's Dinner. A child is left alone for just a moment, but still long enough for her to have a possible conversation with a ghost. Look across from her at the wrapped silverware in front of the glass and watch what it does as she speaks.
Here's going dinner.
The silverware moves all by itself shortly after she reminds an invisible person that this is not their dinner. She could be talking to an imaginary friend, but that doesn't explain how the object moved without being touched. The ghost appears to leave her alone after this brief interaction, and she happily resumes eating as if nothing happened. Exactly what it was planning to do to their food could be anyone's guess. Number 3, the red possession. A woman appears to be obviously distressed and possibly possessed as she coughs up red liquid during a ritual exorcism. She coughs and gags until the front of her shirt is covered in a crimson liquid bubbling forth from her mouth. She spits out the red liquid again and again. The man chants over her and jumps up and down with her until she stops speaking in tongues and appears to calm down. The audience claps and the video ends. Number 2, the stairway. This CCTV footage shows a young woman hurrying down a flight of steps, only to find something waiting for her at the bottom of the stairwell. The shadowy figure turns towards her, and if you look closely, you can almost make out the circular white outline of a face. She bolts away and the apparition quickly pursues. If this video is real, then nobody knows what happened next, or if she even survived. Before we get to number 1, if you've ever been curious as to what I look like in real life, then follow me on Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT.
I don't care about what you look like.
It was supposedly recorded by an unlucky couple who have been experiencing a rash of dangerous paranormal encounters. The paranormal specialist they were seeing suggested that they record every moment inside of the house for evidence. The couple is arguing about how inconvenient this is when suddenly something bad happens to Paige.
I'm so over this house and I'm over the filming and everything.
Hey!
The door slams shut, and when the boyfriend rips the door open, this is what he sees the poltergeist doing to her. The cameraman is slammed to the ground by an invisible force. As Paige rides up the wall, she hangs suspended on the ceiling and then falls into the bathtub. She stares vacantly ahead with no emotion in her eyes as her boyfriend tries to comfort her. It is unclear if she ever recovered or what her mental state is like now. Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because I upload a new video every Thursday. Or if you're still not convinced, here are some of my other videos that I think you'd like. Enjoy.
Hit the bell so you get one of my videos come out, and bye-bye.